time to review one or two examples. I got some new ones. One or two examples, and then sort of begin to do your map out of your own. And Denise, you had some observations about those two examples too.
Of the self-assessment?
Yeah.
Well, because it's something that I'm personally struggling with, I was telling Mary this morning that because I run this more creative vein with my music and drama and arts, that I have a hard time running structure. And in the style for these theoretical purposes is more structured. And it was the differences in the two papers that I had looked at. It was clear, because for me, I always make these assumptions that everybody's inside of my head, and trust me, you really don't want to know half the time. But I always just make these assumptions that everything's clear to me, and it isn't clear to the outside reader. And what I noticed in the differences in the papers is that one wrote a lot like I do, and the other one wrote structured, and it was really helpful for me too, because I didn't know where that person was coming from, to have that structure in that outline format where you have the subheadings saying, you know, I'm going to talk about this now, I'm going to talk about that now.
So again, we'll give you two samples, one of which you'll, I mean, as you look at the two of them, you'll say, oh, this one was easier to follow. So that, let that be, you know, like an inspiration to you then, to work on that.
And when you are writing your self-awareness, you want to set a little context, because the people who will be assessing your work are not necessarily Mary or I. So because of the nature of the external assessment, we draw in other faculty members as well. So while they are familiar with the overall content of 611 and 612, they don't know it as intimately as the people who actually teach it. So I just encourage you to keep that in mind too.
Megan?
Just a comment on the headings, because as an English teacher, I'm always forcing my children to organize their writing before they sit down and write. And I don't do that myself. Oh, that's right, I don't. But when I sat down to do the case 3, that was the first thing I did, was I created all of my headings, and it provided me an organizational structure, and it focused me. I didn't go off on tangents, because I was like, this is what I'm doing right now. Do it. Okay, next heading. And it really, like, I felt like it gave me an automatic organization to my writing and kept me focused on what I needed to do. And, you know, it's just an observation that was very powerful for someone who forces other people to do that all the time. I'm practicing what I preach, apparently.
It's always a good thing. Yes. Now, if you have a clear thesis that sets up, you know, in a nutshell, the relationships you want to talk about, and then you reinforce it with the subheads, then your reader isn't stuck saying, I wonder where this paper's going. I lost the train. I'm not following what's happening. So, any other comments, questions? But we will take time with you, and you'll have time next week to do your planning, because you just have a week in between then to actually produce these materials. So if you want to start playing, if you finish case 3 and you want to start playing around, you can do that too.
So we want to give you the option of knowing what's in store for you. Ruza?
For the 5 abilities, do you mean have a strength and a weakness for each one, or
Yes.
just
So if you think in terms of 5 separate pieces of paper, one with evidence, you know, one half of the page with evidence of that ability, and the other half with where I'd like to develop further.
so that's for each of the 5? So you would have
So
like
each
5
ability has a
weaknesses and
strength
5
and
strengths.
an area for development.
Right.
I thought you
Yes.
said I thought you said pick one.
No,
One aspect of each ability.
right, because if you pull out the abilities,
So you're
you
going
know
to
you've
have
got
5
the
strengths and
beginning,
5
the
weaknesses,
intermediate.
1 for each.
There's a ton of stuff under conceptualization.
Right.
What's the one place where you see yourself
But we're
developing?
still doing all those.
All 5 abilities, but just one aspect.
But just doing maps, you're not writing papers,
Nope,
it's maps.
just a map, or a chart with bullet points, and you'll get a sense of that with the samples.
Okay, so that's going to be a map.
Are we seeing samples today?
No,
Or
next
not,
time.
next time.
Students always, and I have been in your shoes, not a while ago, I know students always stress about the external assessment, and I always tell students the same thing. It's very, I mean, it's structured in terms of you've got different time frames to do different things, but you're with your colleagues, you're with your peers, and there's alone time to think and fill out worksheets, and then there's a group interaction. And that group interaction is really just a discussion with a couple of people around a table where you're sharing questions and getting feedback. So this is a very personal type of assessment, so again, there's no right or wrong answer in terms of the kind of interaction that you have, and every group goes about its process a little bit differently and gets to a different end result. And I remember walking out of AC 613, and I know I was nervous and I freaked out just like most students do, but I remember walking out of there that day feeling so incredibly proud of myself because I realized I really had learned a lot. And it's not like you're expected to know 50 theories or give evidence for 20 things. It's really about your personal learning journey. And I wish that for all of you to walk out of there going, this really has made a difference for me. And it is, it's very personal in that regard.
If you wanted to start preparing, I would say get the list of the 5 abilities with their descriptions and highlight 1 or 2 things on each where you think, I've got some evidence for this. In Take a Learner to Lunch, or my synthesis paper, or case 1, case 2, case 3, your philosophy speech. And just highlight the things, and then choose one where you say, this would be a stretch point for me. And then write some little notes to yourself on the side about where you find the evidence. Then you could really plan out all of them during class next week once you see the exam, next time, once you see the examples. Okay. Then, here's the, you get the light, Carol. This is the DVP setup. We're uploading. TLA 612 case study 3. This is what it looks like when you go, actually, I have the instructor side, so I have these, this is where we put our stuff. But you would have a little box here. You put your case 3, and make it all one file, although if you want, you can upload as many things as you want to the work. But you might want to put everything in one file so it's just easier to upload. Your case, your commentary, and your references all in one file. That goes here. Your self-assessment goes here. Only one thing can be uploaded to your self-assessment. And what you do is, I'm going to do it from the faculty side, but the same thing works. I browse, I look for, in my case I would look for TLA 6, what is that there? So let's say this is Barb Goldstein's feedback. Then it appears, so it's there. Now you have, notice I submitted that at 2:11 p.m. I have 24 hours to remove it. Since this isn't in her portfolio, I'm going to hit this and hit delete. Oh, it's not letting me do it anyway.
There's a remove button on the
There's a
right.
remove. Thank you.
To the right.
Thank you. Okay, there's the remove. And it's always a good idea to go and make sure that what you've uploaded is what you think you uploaded.
Yeah.
So click on it, and it will appear, and you say that's the right thing to put in there. So the things you upload are the case and case commentary, references down here, and the student assessment up here. We don't do peer feedback for this one. Okay. Now what happens, when we upload our feedback, if you go back here and look in my work, it'll appear that it's gone. And you may say, I get phone calls every once in a while that say, I can't find my stuff, it disappeared. That's because once it's uploaded, once again, Carol, it goes to your matrix. So, some undergrad, give me your name.